finalists for ArtPrize have been chosen. Last year,
what's with the horses?
The critics didn't hold back.
Honesty is the best policy, right? I kind of walked away saying, why is this a finalist?
What will they say this year? Live from downtown Grand Rapids, this is Why These Finalists.
And yes, we are live tonight to answer the question many of you have been asking at ArtPrize, WTF? That's why these finalists. Hi, everybody. I'm MARLEE GINTER. We are live inside the Media Arts Center in downtown Grand Rapids. Here's a look at the finalists. All 38 of them. The jurors unveiled their top 20 1 week ago. And yesterday, I was with you when we learned the public final 20. Those lists overlapping a bit, with 2 entries appearing on both of them. So tonight, we'll discuss the 2D and installation finalists. And then tomorrow night at 7, we'll focus on the 3D and time-based finalists. All right, it's time to meet our critics. This will be an exciting night. We have Sharon Loudon, the artistic director of the visual arts at Chautauqua Institution. Charlie Tatum is the editorial and communications manager at Pelican Balm. And Jeffrey Augustine Sonko from here in Grand Rapids. You might recognize him. He was the winner of the Installation Juried Award at ArtPrize 9. So we've asked them to give us their absolute, honest opinions tonight, really to help us all better understand good art. Thank you all for being with us tonight.
Thanks for having us.
We're looking forward to the honesty. So first up tonight, we want to discuss the 10 finalists in the installation category. So here are the public picks you're looking at right now. Abiding in the Shadow, Sonder, The World Beneath the City, Oscillation, and Casa Lasso. And here's who the jurors liked in the installation category. Heidelbergology, 2 + 2 = 8. By Her Own Hand, Silent Chorus, Madison at Franklin, and Locked and Loaded. All right, so we're going to go through these one by one. Why don't we start with Casa Lasso? This public vote finalist by Saskia Jorda is here at the Grand Rapids Art Museum. It's a tribute to a protest that the artists experienced in Venezuela. All right, so let's start with you guys. What did you think of this one? Sharon?
Oh, thanks. You start with me. I think that the premise of it is very profound. I think very profound, but I would want some kind of performative aspect to it. I think that there was something missing there. It felt that it should be activated. I know some of these installations that are here have a performance aspect to it. So by itself and without reading the caption, it was something for me that wasn't so active. It wasn't as appealing as I would want it to be. However, I think that the premise of it is very inspiring, and protest is very important, and especially right now. And to be able to encourage that through that installation, that's a good part of it.
Exactly, and that's the message there that the artist is trying to get out. Charlie, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. She was talking, the artist was working with this memory that she had of protests in Venezuela as a child against food shortages, and people would come out and bang pots and pans on their front stoops and from their balconies and in the streets. And I thought it was interesting how she was able to bring those forms of protest into the museum.
All right, let's move on to this next one, too. We're going to take a look at a juried installation finalist. This is Silent Chorus by Ava Rocha at Fountain Street Church, a powerful entry that talks about human trafficking of women. All right, do you agree with the jurors that this should be a finalist? Let's start with you, Jeffrey.
Yeah, I love this piece. I love the space that it's in. As an installation artist myself, I'm really interested in site specificity and just how the architecture of the space, including the history, is informing that work. So I think she did a really good job, not only in placement, but with the subject matter within that space.
And Sharon, this really is such a strong subject. I really want to hear what you think about the way she portrayed it.
Well, it's funny, because what I liked the most was it was hiding a bust of a man all the way in the back, actually, and I actually loved that part of it, because that made it very profound for me, that the placement, and oftentimes a lot of these installations, what works with them is the context by which where they're placed is so important. So I think beyond the forms themselves, where it was placed, and then that little bust in the back,
yes,
that was fantastic. So where she placed it was, to me, more profound, and how it was placed than the piece itself.
Exactly. Charlie?
Yeah, I thought it was a really, really moving piece. I think having it in the space of the church really affected the way that you have this interaction with these figures that feel like they're floating through the space. I almost felt like they were statues. I mean, they are literally statues, but you kind of felt like they were a part of the architecture of the church in a way. And that made it really powerful for me.
One that just really went with where it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Well, back to the public vote installation finalists. Oscillation by Ryan Swanson is at the Gillette Bridge. This has been a favorite for guests walking across the bridge since ArtPrize started. And as you get closer to these crystals, well, they make sounds. What's your takeaway on this one, Jeffrey?
Love it. Selfie spot of the year, I think. I've been seeing a lot of it on the hashtag, ArtPrize hashtag. I thought that the functioning of it in terms of the sound, I didn't quite understand how it was operating, so I'm not sure what was going on there, but the colors were beautiful, and you know, we were there a little bit while it was raining, so I think there was some kind of like sparkle to it that I really loved.
And I think people love it when you can interact with the piece as well. Sharon, what'd you think of this one?
Nope.
Whoops.
No, I didn't think it, I mean, it's so nice what you're saying, you know, Jeffrey, it's lovely, but you know, I think that it's a one-liner. You know, somebody comes by and they touch it and they have interaction and they feel good and then they leave. You know, it doesn't, to me, it wasn't enough to hold that space or to carry me. I just think they could have done a lot more with that. It doesn't mean it has to be political or have, you know, big meaning to it, but where they were placed felt very random to me. And they were also similar in form and size, so it just didn't do much for me. I mean, I actually spent maybe 30 seconds in the piece. It was too shallow for me to be able to experience in a deeper way.
Ouch. But
sorry.
we're looking
I have
for
to be
that
honest. I don't know. I
Charlie,
mean, he could be a nice person.
I really liked this piece. I thought we had been talking a lot about how politics and messages come into the artwork, and I thought this was one that was really fun. It didn't try to take on a specific message, but also helped you rethink the way that you're walking through the city, because these sounds are changing as you're crossing the bridge. And I just thought that it was, I thought it was nice and fun.
All right. Well, let's get to this next one, Locked and Loaded. This is a juried finalist for the installation category. This is a piece by Kimberly Walker. Pretty powerful when you read about what she is displaying here. It's on display outside of GVSU. She's a retired Army combat veteran who is now using her art to focus on sexual assault and violence against women in the military. So did her entry speak to you? What do you think, Sharon?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think it was very timely. I think the location of it was really good. I think it was smart. It wasn't overdone. It was very simple and to the point and very powerful. I thought it was a really strong piece.
Do you agree with that, Jeffrey?
Yeah, I completely agree. I loved it. There's like concrete on the bottom that was poured just for the bags. I thought it was beautiful.
All right, let's move on to this next one, to another public finalist, Sonder by Megan Constance Altieri. This one's at the Public Museum. It's an entry you really wanted to spend some time with. The artist gathered fragments of overheard conversations and then stamped them onto clothing. Those shirts and pants are now just hanging on clotheslines for everyone to read. Charlie, what'd you think of this one?
I thought this one was a really great one to spend a lot of time with because there's so much text. And I would encourage a lot of folks to really wander through and read each of these individual statements that the artist has overheard in different places. I couldn't help but think of it in the context of the Me Too movement and conversations we're having about women's voices.
Sharon, what'd you think?
Yeah, I think it should win. This should be the winner.
Wow.
So I think that it was great, and just noticing also how the public was engaged with this. It was very simple, and it felt very free, and I think the public could really relate to it because they could also do the same. They could replicate what she has done, which is always wonderful too. When an artwork invites people to come in to maybe do more with it, they can take ownership of it. So I thought it was really refreshing. I thought it was wonderful. Also, the placement was really good too. And I definitely think it's the best one out of all of the public vote award for installation.
Wow, what a compliment. Jeffrey, you agree with this?
I don't think it's going to win, only because there's text, and I just don't think text is very popular here. Otherwise, I mean, it's great to look at and wander around, and it's all weather, it stayed up, so yeah, I mean, I just don't think it's going to win.
I know, but it could be. We have to encourage people.
Get out there and vote.
People are reading these things. I mean, I don't think that just because we don't think that maybe it may get in. I think it could if we encourage them. It should win.
Okay, there we go. Well, now to a juried finalist for installation, Heidelbergology 2 + 2 = 8 by Tyree Guyton Heidelberg Project, and this one's at Site Lab. The Heidelberg Project has been a staple for decades in Detroit. All right, does this entry for ArtPrize work? Now, Sharon, I know we heard you talk about it earlier.
Yeah, I really loved it.
This is a favorite of yours.
Absolutely. I mean, it was the only piece that I saw that really felt as though that it was meant to be in that space. And I do think that Site Lab is a fantastic venue. I think it was the best venue here. And it just meshed really naturally, and I didn't want to leave. And it was surprising every time I turned. There were special moments through the entire environment. It was really an environment. And it had a lot of different notes and different areas of meaning that I think anybody could relate to, really, or have a conversation with, an intangible conversation with.
And this is one really where the artist has just been so resilient and rebuilding this piece again and again. Charlie, what'd you think of it?
Yeah, I loved the artist's use of found objects and things that we might normally think of as trash, and really taking a lot of care and time and attention into those objects, and really trying to get viewers to think about the world around them. I think that Sharon's point about the venue is right on. It's really stunning to be able to walk through this space that used to be a school and is now perhaps not the freshest of spaces because it is very old and sort of in transition. But I thought that really gave to the feeling that you get when you walk through.
So do we have all three in agreement here then? This one's a good one?
I love it. I loved it. And you know, as a local here in Grand Rapids, I'm just so excited that this type of work and quality of work can be here. So.
All right. Well, another public vote installation finalist is The World Beneath the City. Now, these are those big red crocodiles in Anabawan Park. So if you've seen these, well, you've probably realized, oh, kids love to just jump on them. All right, critics, why these finalists?
I think you guys took a picture on them too, right? You jumped on them. This is the same artist who does these penguins all over the country in 21C museums, and so I was really surprised to see that this was the same artist. So what I liked about it was when you walk up over the hill and then boom, there they are. I thought that was really catchy. I think it's a fun piece. I mean, it's very cute. It's fun and it's engaging. I mean, it's wonderful to enjoy. Definitely, I'm looking at the monitor and looking at these kids going on there, so it has its purpose.
Right. I'm hearing fun, I'm hearing cute, but what do you think? Jeffrey, do you think this is the finalist, though?
It's very ArtPrize. This reminded me I was at ArtPrize, and I love that. You know, it's the outdoor installation that people go to find and want to see it, in person because it's so photogenic. Yeah, I took a selfie on it. I loved it.
And you did too, Charlie? You're taking pictures on it?
Yeah, I felt similarly to this work as Oscillation, that I thought that it was an interesting way to reimagine the city with these large red crocodiles wandering around.
I think you said it too, Jeffrey, that this reminds you that you're at ArtPrize. Big red crocodiles, everyone interacting. A fun piece for sure. All right, let's move on to By Her Own Hand. Laura Robertson made the juried shortlist with her piece that is at Fountain Street Church. This project shows 2 films projected through a mass of fabric. So what were your thoughts on this one, Sharon?
Yeah, I didn't care for it. I mean, part of it is, first of all, I think it's ambitious for the artist to do this, to have that suspended in the church. But the church is so dominating that I think it just sort of took over the whole work. And I just think it was very weak in that space. I actually didn't have enough retention to be able to get through the video itself because the church was too much of a distraction. So here's a case again about context where the environment took over the work. essentially.
Right, so you need the work to be much more powerful if you're going to have it in a setting like this then?
It's always in dialogue. Like, I think that some of the artists here didn't concentrate on that. And I know there's one piece that we're going to talk about, Michigan Effect, I think that's what it's called, that had the same issues, where there has to be a harmony between the environment, especially installation work, where it's in dialogue with the space.
Right. Jeffrey, you're familiar with Fountain Street Church. What do you think of all this?
Yeah, you know, I've been to multiple events there. I love the space, but I completely agree with Sharon. It was just so overpowering with that work. And, you know, the work is see-through and it's dark, and it's just really difficult to just retain everything that's happening there. The sound was amazing, though. I mean, I thought it really was like part of the space. I had a good time walking around, but it was hard to focus on the artwork.
Did you have the same issue with it, Charlie?
I did, and I think especially because we had seen Eva Rocha's piece, the silent chorus downstairs first, which really worked so well with the space of the church that I think that's kind of doubled the feeling of going upstairs to the balcony and seeing this installation and feeling a little disappointed.
All right. Wow, we got all of you guys agreeing once again. Fantastic. Now to the last public vote finalist in the installation category. Abiding in the Shadow by Jeff Best is at Amway Grand Plaza Hotel. This is Best's second straight year as a finalist. Pretty incredible. He was on the 3D list last year from the Salvaire Hitch. All right, what did you guys think of this one?
Do you want to start?
I really didn't like this one. I tried really hard and thought that the technique of wrapping the barbed wire to make these wolves and this deer were really impressive. But then sort of all together in the lobby of the hotel, it felt like Christmas decorations or something. It didn't feel really exciting.
This is sacred space. Amway is sacred space. So as a local, I know that, you know, the last two grand prize winners were there. So just anything in that spot is just really nostalgic to people. People love voting at that spot. But, you know, it was so big, and there was a giant chandelier that I was actually distracted by the chandelier being in the way of the top of that peak. So I just thought there were site-specific problems. But the paper was really big. It was big paper.
Sharon, what do you think?
No. I mean, the paper was, I have to try to be nice here. So the paper just wasn't working. And we had the opportunity to talk to some artists, right? And even though the artist wasn't there, his nephew was there. So he gave us insight into the work. But even the nephew sort of left at the end about the paper. You know, it felt like a secondary thing. And I just didn't care for it. I don't think it's worthy of receive an award, actually. I'm struggling with trying to be nice on this.
Honesty is the best policy.
I know, but I can present it more positively. I'm working on it.
Well, here's the final installation finalist. Madison at Franklin made the juried shortlist. Mandy Cano Villalobos' piece is at Site Lab, and the juror who selected this finalist, Carmen Ermo, said last week that it took her breath away when she saw it. What do you think? You agree with that one?
I loved that each piece felt like a little altar, and she was working with historic photographs of families in Grand Rapids, and I loved that tie to the city. And sort of creating these little dedications to the families and the people of Grand Rapids. I thought it also worked really well in the space. I encourage everyone to go to Site Lab if they haven't been able to get out there.
And when you hear "take your breath away," would you agree with that?
I mean, I didn't get my breath taken away, but I thought it was awesome. I thought that it was I know Mandy's work well, and these sculptures just have so much texture and history, and talk about site specificity. I really enjoyed it, but I don't think it took my breath away, but it was beautiful.
Sharon, what do you think?
I thought it was really well done. I think she didn't need as many candles. I think it was over-romanticized. But I do think it was profound. I think it was very beautiful. I think it was a solid piece. It didn't take my breath away, though.
Certainly you did hear a lot of people saying, though, in the setting that it was in, it really worked well.
Absolutely. I think most of the things in that space really worked very well in that whole building. It was really well curated and fantastic.
Yeah, and the whole building is so large,
Yeah.
but, you know, compared to Fountain Street Church, also large. There were some difficulties there, but the space was used really well.
I think Site Lab should win for the venue, for sure.
Once again, then it will win if that does happen, because they have won several times in the past. So stay with us. Up next, we are discussing the 2D finalists, including two pieces that captured the attention of both the jurors and the public. Will the critics agree on Mastermind and the String Project? We'll find out. And a quick reminder about the ArtPrize Awards VIP package. For every $10 you donate on ArtPrize's website, well, you will be entered to win. The winner gets 2 tickets to the ArtPrize Awards VIP party, a meet and greet with the ArtPrize Grand Prize winners, and a one-night stay at the JW Marriott. So you have until tomorrow at 5 p.m. to donate, and we'll announce the winner tomorrow on night 2 of Why These Finalists. We'll be right back. And welcome back to night 1 of Why These Finalists. Our critics just weighed in on the installation finalists. Now we want to move on to the category with the most entries, 2D. And we are expecting some fireworks in this one, let me tell you. So here are the public's finalists: Michigan Effect, Jesus, Kings of Late Night, The String Project, and Mastermind America. And then the juried finalists: Pulse Nightclub, 49 Elegies, But Did You Die, City with Shining Neon Lights, Hollywood, America. And then 2 pieces you just saw on the public list, The String Project and Mastermind America. We'll get to those 2 pieces to make it onto both lists in just a moment. But we want to start with the 2D discussion with Jesus. The public vote finalist is by Mayor Kachatrian. It's at the Ford Presidential Museum. Images of Jesus have been popular at ArtPrize before. You remember in 2011, a glass mosaic titled Crucifixion won the ArtPrize Grand Prize. All right, Sharon, I know you've got a lot of opinion about this one.
Well, I'm going to start with Jeff with some inside reveal.
News.
Yes, breaking news.
Well, listen, we were taking the tour, and I live here. All my friends are talking about ArtPrize all the time. And I got a text, and it was a picture of that source imagery for the drawing, or the painting. And, you know, we were talking to the artist. Sharon started the conversation with the artist.
I went up to him and I said, so can you tell me a little bit about why you chose this image? You know, and he said that he chose this image from multiple sources. He actually told me that. I said I was an artist, and I said I wanted to know why he chose this because it looked very common to me. And he said, well, I chose multiple sources to be able to share and convey love, compassion, empathy from the eyes. And I was like, ugh, and I was really tired at that moment, so I didn't go further, but he was a little bit agitated by the questions. But really, I've seen that image over and over again. And I really think, too, that this is an opportunity for artists to do something different. And even if he wanted to convey Jesus, he should have, I think, conveyed it from his personal vision that could have been different. And so what he ended up doing by saying that was sort of misleading me. I don't know why he had to say that or prop it up. He didn't tell us the truth.
So then what you're saying then is he said this was an original piece, something that just came out of his mind, but then you're saying you actually found this somewhere else.
Right, so it's actually like on the media library of the Church of Latter-day Saints.
Oh, there it is.
There it is. I think that he didn't say that. He said he took it from multiple sources as inspiration, but that's not a multiple source. That's one source. So the problem I have is that I don't think that artists have to do that. It takes courage enough to show their work, but we should be in a society where artists can be transparent and truthful. And this is a wonderful, safe place to do that. So he lost that opportunity. And as an artist, I found that that was extremely disappointing, to say the least.
Well, it is a public favorite, so we'll have to see where it goes from here. Well, now moving now to a juried finalist for the 2D category. Pulse Nightclub 49 Elegies by John Gutowski is here at the Grand Rapids Art Museum. Now, the pictures honor the 49 people massacred at the LGBTQ Pulse Nightclub in Orlando in 2016. You know, this piece, you would look at it when you know where this is coming from. Obviously, an emotional piece. Charlie, what did you think of this one?
Yeah, I absolutely love this one. I think this was my favorite of the 2D works that we saw. because the artist had used paint and printmaking to create really these tributes to each of the people killed in that horrific attack. And sort of there's a list at the end of all of the people who were deceased, and so it felt like a really moving tribute to them.
And we were talking earlier too, because the question comes out when you look at this, was he doing his research on each of the victims and then doing something in their honor because of something that he learned about them? We're not really sure if that's what he's doing, but Sharon, when we talked earlier, it's just that very question that makes it a moving piece.
Yeah, I think it was really profound and really beautifully done. And it was very simple, but all the pieces had a certain touch to them. And he did identify the victims that were killed. And it felt like a memorial to them. And I didn't have to know if each of those pieces were for each person, but I felt the reverence and the memorializing of them, and I think it's important, and actually that would be my favorite out of all of them, out of both the public and the juried awards.
All right. Well, the next 2D finalist is an entry our newsroom started getting messages about as soon as ArtPrize started. Kings of Late Night by Carrie Mott is in the basement at the Bob. We're already getting reaction from our critics up here. Now, she used pieces of duct tape to show late night TV hosts drinking together at the bar. The public voted this in as a finalist. All right, Sharon, you're shaking your head.
Oh my gosh. I didn't think the camera was on me. Yeah, so I saw it first and I was like, wow, she's a woman selecting all of these men that we know pretty well, like people who watch television. Why did she do this? And they're a particular kind of man, too, who's in the spotlight, and I think most people know who these people are. So I went up to her and asked her, I said, why did you do this in this day and age, too? You had an opportunity, right, to be able to do anything in this technique. And she was pretty gun-ho and very telling people how she did this and really maximizing about this technique. I think it's great that she's developed this technique, but really it doesn't make it successful unless you can combine that technique with a great subject together. And she couldn't answer my questions, really. I asked her, could you include women in that? Could you include women late night hosts? And she really just didn't have a good answer for that. So I just don't think it's strong. I think she should teach classes on doing duct tape art, if you will, and I think that's what she had as a sign there too, and she was showing how she does that, but I don't think it's worthy of a prize whatsoever.
You don't know, in fairness though, I did have a chance to speak with the artist.
Yes.
And a lot of time, effort, choices go into doing this. I mean, these are tiny little pieces of duct tape, and the public loves it. I mean, they look at this, they walk by, and they're thinking of all of the effort and time that goes into this piece.
Can I comment on that?
Sure.
It sometimes takes a lifetime for someone to do something. Just because they put in that effort in that one piece, that small little pieces together, I can tell you many, 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 many artists out there who actually think about their subject, who convey meaning into their work, who technically are proficient and do great work with their, quote, technique. So I don't buy that.
Okay, fair enough. Charlie, what do you think?
I think this was another case of our really thinking about what the images that artists were using meant, and what do they mean to them, and what do they mean to the world around us. And I think that it's really important for artists to consider, like, where these images are coming from, because that's ultimately sort of the most important thing. The technique can be really great, but if you're not thinking about what you're actually showing, then it falls flat.
Right. All right, so here's City with Shining Neon Lights, Hollywood, America. This one's up next. A piece by Norimitsu Kukobu made the juried shortlist and is at Meyer Gardens and Sculpture Park. The juror who picked this piece, Dexter Wimberly, called it an unsung hero and said many people probably walk right by it, not even realizing just how complex this really is. What do you think, Jeffrey? Do you agree with that?
Let's see. Well, I don't work with 2D material, so it's just like really interesting and fun for me to look at. Like I really enjoyed like looking through all like the city and recognizing different buildings. But there were other works around it that I think were a little bit more interesting than this specific one, but I'm still not quite sure how that all like is contained together. But I thought it was really cool to look at.
You agree, Sharon?
Yeah, actually, there were 3 pieces there, right? And so 2 of the pieces, and one included here, were framed in such a way that I think cut it off a little bit. But then there was another piece right in the middle that was in this, on this pedestal, and it was standing up. That was really wonderful because the work has the sculptural quality in the drawing. So I think that this piece is absolutely fine and quite beautiful. But the other work right next to it, it felt to me that raised the bar a little bit. And I'm happy that this artist showed the work with the other 2 pieces.
All right. Charlie?
Yeah, this artist, I think, gave viewers a lot to look at, and I liked that it's something that you could maybe spend hours picking apart because it's like so much drawing and so much color, and everything is really small and kind of tight together, that it was like fun to explore that.
All right. Thank you. Well, moving on to another juried shortlist pick for the 2D category. But Did You Die by Heather Johnson is at the Grand Rapids African American Museum and Archives. Jeffrey, what do you think of this one?
Yeah, so again, like I said, 2D, not my strongest suit, but I really enjoyed looking at the surface, the charcoal, subject matter. I was very confused. I didn't understand what was going on. I thought it was a beautiful portrait, but otherwise, I'm not sure exactly what was happening.
Sharon, did you have an idea?
Yeah, I have a problem in a way. I mean, the artist, she didn't identify this person. And the text that was right there was very general. And the fact that she didn't give her identity, I felt like the subject perhaps could have been used for the meaning that she was trying to convey. And I find that disingenuous. I think that the artist should have identified this person. And even if she couldn't identify, explain that right. She couldn't do that. So I think it fell short. I mean, it's beautifully done. And I think that a lot of the work here is beautifully done. I mean, their technique is wonderful, but as I said before, that's just not enough. And also, I do think, just like in the experience or the situation with Jesus, with that artist, they have to be responsible for what they're showing. So that preparation and that rethinking of how she explained it would have been more helpful, at least to me.
Just more of an explanation. All right, let's take a look at one more public vote 2D finalist, Michigan Effect. The piece by Tom Gifford is just down the street from our studio, right outside of Big B Coffee. I know a lot of people have been gathering around this one and looking at it. What did you think of this one, Charlie?
I think it was one that was really hard for me to relate to as somebody who is not from Michigan.
Right.
It felt like people's responses to it, at least from the people that we saw that were out there, was really based on state pride. And since I don't have that, I think it was a little hard for me to relate to. I didn't like the way that it was presented. It's like on this sort of funny scaffolding, like hanging out outside.
But now, Jeffrey, you live in Michigan now.
Yeah.
What did you make of it?
Well, I put my hand up first and I was like, I'm from here, right?
Right.
So I learned how to do that when I moved here. But, you know, it's a very pretty picture, or, well, I don't even know if it's quite a picture, right? It's very, there's a lot of editing and manipulation going on in there. But I think someone's gonna buy it and hang it in their house.
Well, I think, I don't want to be mean about this, because I do think that there's an audience for every artwork out there. But it wasn't hung very well, as you were mentioning. Like the scaffolding, it was terrible, actually, how it was presented. I think if that artist could have found a different place in a different context, it would have been better. And I do think it's suited in some public places, like, and to be very nice about this, like tourism, it would be perfect for that. But in this context, it just doesn't, it pales compared to the other pieces. And I just didn't understand actually why it was in the competition.
All right, thank you. Well, we have 2 more pieces to discuss in the 2D category, and both of them are finalists on the public and juror shortlist. Do the critics like Mastermind America and The String Project? That answer when we come right back. And welcome back to night one of Why These Finalists. We have 2 more entries to discuss, and they are in a rare class. The public and the jurors have agreed on not 1, but 2 of the same 2D pieces. So here they are. First is Mastermind America, a painting by Alexi Torres. It shows an American flag incorporated with objects and symbols, and it's over at DeVos Place. And then just down the hall at DeVos Place, you'll find the other entry that made both lists, The String Project by Chelsea Nix and Mariano Cortez. The photographs in this piece are from all around the world, but are unified by a single string, which people are able to take their own photos with. The juror who picked this piece called it uplifting, and the public has agreed. And this isn't the first time in the competition where the public and jurors have picked the same pieces. You'll remember in 2014, Anila Kayamaga's Intersections was the public winner and split the juried grand prize. All right, so Mastermind and The String Project this year. Do you like them, and why do you think that both the experts and the public agreed on them?
I think with the String Project, you're saying that it is so uplifting, and I think that is really the big appeal. You have this long hallway of photographs, and then there's a place where you can actually take your photograph with the string or have it taken by the artists if they're there. So I loved that participatory element. And love the message that we're all connected no matter where in the world we are.
And in today's world, it's nice to look at something and think uplifting and happy, right?
Yeah, but I think one of the questions that I had about this work and sort of was left with is the sort of sameness of each of the photographs. There's really a formula for how the subjects are presented in each one. And I love to think about how our differences are really what make us so great. And we are connected, but we don't have to be the same to be connected.
Now, this is another one that I did get to talk with the artist. And one thing that she did say is that they made sure that they got these unique experiences with them and honest, genuine experitions with people who they had in these photographs. What do you think, Sharon? I don't know. You're making
I think
a face.
there's just too much of the same. And I think I was just wishing somebody would have taken that string and wrapped themselves around it. You know, that it was not enough just to hold them. It's also compositionally, everything was very similar, and that's the same with the painting. So the Mastermind America, amazing technique, great, fantastic, gorgeous ribbon-like painting, but everything's treated the same. It's the value structure in the painting itself, technically. I don't know what the artist wants to say that's more important than the other. It's sort of similar. Both of those pieces to me connect in that way. Right. It's, to me, after you say something over and over and over again the same way, you lose meaning. And in both pieces, I felt that way.
Now, Jeffrey, did you get a lot out of Mastermind America?
Yes, I'm going to say it. I think it's going to win.
Okay,
I think it's going to get the public vote.
Oh, but...
I think people go on the skywalk at DeVos Place, and there are kids pointing at things, there are adults pointing at things. Everyone, the audience at ArtPrize can relate to all of the imagery in that work without any controversy, without anything to argue about. It is like, look at that teddy bear. So
I think I wish that it made more of a statement for me.
I do too.
So I felt like I thought it was really technically beautiful, and I loved actually being able to stand there and find this teddy bear or a Bourbon Street sign or Martin Luther King's portrait in the work, but I wish that he would have made a little bit more of a statement about how he felt about those things.
I think it's really wonderful. What's great about this whole exhibition and this project, it is the public being involved. And when we went there, we had to wait in line to see that work. And that's so wonderful and refreshing. So I don't want to downplay that at all. But I have to be honest about the work. And I'm really putting this on the artist and not on the public to say that the artist could have done more. When an artist has that kind of facility, they have a responsibility to push their work more.
Right.
And I think that he could have taken it a lot farther. Now, maybe with this nod where people are giving this applause to him and this work, he's going to take that and say, wow, I feel good. I have that validation. We all need validation. Every artist, every person does, every human being. Nothing wrong with that. But how about taking it and then pushing it to make it a better piece?
All right, Sharon, Jeffrey, Charlie, thank you all 3 for being here. We've appreciated the honesty and learning really a lot more about art. So that's a wrap. We are all out of time, but we will be back tomorrow night here on Wood TV at 7 for round 2 of Why These Finalists. So if you thought tonight was fun, you've got to join us again. We'll discuss the finalists in the 3D and time-based categories, and then join us Friday night at 7:30. There will be $500,000 up for grabs at the ArtPrize Awards. Our coverage starts at 7, so join us then.